I have Anil again with me. We have done one more podcast with Anil where he has talked about his radio credentials. Amazingly interesting guy, this guy is. We're going to talk today about one of other facets of Anil's life, where he used to be the CEO of KingsXIPunjab. Right? And we're going to talk about IPL. Since IPL is coming up, I thought it was a very exciting conversation for us. So Anil, dive deep into why you think Modi's exit was not good for IPL.
Well, again, it's a matter of perspective of who thinks it's good or who thinks it's bad. I think it was a bad thing for IPL. Okay, so in that sense, I'll answer. But see, any new venture has to be driven by the people that are passionate for it. Okay, so that passion is going to cross a few lines sometimes because you're only focusing on your product and everything else real, the 360 ecosystem that you create around your life. Your life becomes part of that 360 ecosystem and the product becomes the center. And when that happens, human beings are also going to become a little, I wouldn't say imbalanced, but they're going to forget about what's right, what's wrong, but only do things for what's right for the product. Okay, so I think Lalit was in that situation where his momentum was creating him to be a monster that nobody could tame. But the underlying factor of what he was to make this a league that was formidable in the world and put India on the sports map of the world. Okay, which is a long time coming. Now, his exit took away all the passion, took away all the controversy. The controversies that came with him was again a big factor in what made that brand. I do agree with the most marketing gurus or the most brand gurus when they say the quickest way to build a brand is by controversy. Okay, the quickest and the most surest way. Otherwise, most people don't like the goody two shoes kind of thing. And there's, you've got to break the clutter of interest. There's so many things going around in this world. What's going to break that clutter and get that into my mind space? Mm-hmm. Controversy does a beautiful job. And the IPL, I was looking at it from the outside, and I was not always inside. Season 1, Season 2, it took me time to warm up even as a spectator, as much of a cricket fan that I am. But once I got in, and it was great to meet him. I've had some dealing with him in my past life in the US, where I was head of cricket for Kelly Broad. So it's cricket. This is not the first time I was dealing with cricket in my career. It was in America, which I began with first, and that time was when I had a very, very quick interaction with Lalit. Mm-hmm. He was just coming into the BCC. But this time when he interviewed me for the job, not so much an interview, but he would just, talk to me about what my plans would be and all of that. Because for someone who's managing the league, he needed to know who is going to lead one of the franchises because it had a big impact on how the league would be perceived. So it was a great interaction. We had a good meeting of minds. And I saw him leave under the circumstances for whatever the reasons. I don't agree with it. Personally or professionally for what happened, but it happened. Now what are you going to do? So what happened to IPL after that? The shine was lost. A product was prematurely designed to die. In my opinion, I think the product was prematurely designed to die because if you're not going to nurture it with the same amount of passion with what it was born. Look. There may have been a lot of vested interest that gave rise to that passion. What's wrong with it? It's a business. Okay, vested interest is what drives passion, that drives innovation. Mm-hmm. This is not social service. So if he's going to say that, I'm doing this to make money for the league, for BCCI, for myself, why not? I'm putting in the effort, an effort that is worth compensating for because what I'm bringing back to the owners of the property is 100 times. So what's wrong with it? And if friends and family are the ones that supported my vision first, what's wrong in them being investors? See, all of those things I don't buy that there's conflict of interest here and there. There is a conflict of interest to a large extent with holding office with the BCCI and holding ownership of one of the teams. That's a whole different discussion if you know where I'm going with it. But the whole premise was wrong, I think. So to the extent, I hope he comes back. I hope a better sense prevails because the common interest here is to build a league that can sustain itself for the next 2 generations. And you can't do it with a half-hearted attempt to pleasing 35 different parties. The only thing to please here is the league. Is the league going to benefit? I don't care if it doesn't benefit 30 other people. Okay, but then that's being very idealistic. What has happened has happened. We can talk till the cows come home. Yeah, we can talk till the cows come home, and not much may happen at the end of the day. But so I got in, right? So I got in. It was a honeymoon period. It was great.
It was cool. Okay.
It was good. It was good. We met everybody. Met my bosses.
So tell me more about the transition into KingsXIPunjab as a CEO itself. You said you were doing a lot of things with women and you went on to do things with men. So
it was truly a culture shock because my entire, especially for 3 years, I ran Meow with the same passion that Lalit was running his ideal and building and creating it. And of course, I ruffled a lot of feathers along the way, and it resulted in the fact that I had to make a choice to either stay or leave under my terms. I decided to leave on my terms. But what it brought into my very being and the momentum of things is working and thinking and feeling what women would. Okay, because if I was to build a product for them, I had to get into their minds to see what they may want all the time. And now suddenly I put myself in a situation where these guys are playing, they're only dealing with men on this side. I had one woman in the team who I actually brought in from Meow. And it was truly a culture shock. Of course, I had to deal with Preity, who was very much. She was a woman. One of my favorite actresses she was. She still is as an actress, but we had our differences. You'd think that after all this interaction with women, I could very well get along with Preity being a woman, but I guess she was so used to being around men that I guess she lost the women's touch, or the femininity, and he was dealing with me like a man was. And you can have plenty of ifs, buts, and all of that. The point is we didn't get along very well during my time over there for whatever reason. I mean, obviously we have our own views on whether I was at fault or she was at fault. End of the day, I was just trying to be a professional, and she was just trying to be an owner to get the best out of the profession. And that meant a lot of things that I wouldn't ethically do. Okay? The problem was, I think I should have checked my ethics at the door. I would have got along a lot better with everybody. But again, that's a choice I made, and I lived with the bet I made in that situation. I left under unsavory circumstances because I had a difference of opinion with some people, some of my board members and the owners. At the end of the day, they owned the team, so they wouldn't leave. I had to.
Which is fair enough. You're doing something very interesting right now as well.
Which is fine. I mean, everything happens for a good reason. I have no axe to grind. I think after all of this was over, Preity and I think we made up. At least she was graceful enough to extend the olive branch, and I accepted it. She is, of course, my favorite actress, so why wouldn't I do that?
Very cool. Very excellent. Thanks a ton, and appreciate your views as ever.